What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I'm bringing you a deck centered around Lurantis-GX from the new Sun and Moon expansion. Well, not expansion, just the Sun and Moon set. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and maybe subscribe. It really does help us out a lot, and lets us do more for you guys. And as for the question of the day, really this one centers around Lurantis, and the idea of it came from looking at Lurantis and building a deck around it. And when this card was first released in English and the translation and everything, it actually got me really hyped. Okay, to be fair, the entire set got me hyped, but just bear with me on this one. So Lurantis got me very hyped because it was a grass Pokemon. That means you could get it up turn 1. It had an attack for 1 energy, so you can attack turn 1, and also you can accelerate energy, so you can power up attackers in the back while doing damage. In fact, it can also power up itself because you can attach energy from your discard pile to your Pokemon in any way you like. That means you can attach it to Lurantis as well. So immediately when I saw this card, the pairing came to, well, the pairing in my head was with Vileplume. And honestly, I think that Lurantis Vileplume is going to be the most competitive version of this deck. However, everybody has thought of that, and everybody is starting to do decks around that. And if you want to see a deck centered around that, Lurantis Vileplume, I'm probably going to do it later, but if you want it now, go check out my boy Aurabomb's channel. He did an excellent job covering that combination in that deck. So I was trying to think outside the box with Lurantis because Flower Supply can be such a versatile attack, and instead of doing a Lurantis Vileplume deck, I decided to do kind of a much less competitive idea, but a much more fun idea, and that is a Lurantis Toolbox where you run Lurantis with a bunch of different types of energy and a bunch of different attackers and go from there. So my question of the day centers around that. What do you guys want to see? Would you rather see me do the most competitive build of a certain card? Would you rather see the most competitive deck centered around a certain card, or would you rather see a less competitive but more fun out of the box idea? I mean, I'm okay with both. I usually go for the more competitive, but because everybody had the idea of pairing Lurantis with Vileplume, I decided to try to be a little bit more original and do more of a toolbox idea where it's, again, much less competitive, but it's just kind of a much more cool idea in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think. Would you rather see the most competitive build of a card in a deck, or would you rather see a more fun idea? I'm inclined to more competitive, but I really do like doing fun decks. That's what makes doing this so much fun, is doing kind of out of the box, out of the ordinary types of decks. So yeah, let me know in the comment section below and why. I would love to hear what you guys have to think. But anyway, like I said, centered around Lurantis-GX, 210 HP grass Pokemon. So because of grass, you already know it's going to be paired with Forest of Giant Plants, meaning you can get it powered up you can get it set up turn 1, and Flower Supply, 1 energy, 40 damage in itself. That's actually not bad. 1 energy for 40 is, I mean, nothing spectacular, but it's a solid attack. But the effect of that attack is pretty unreal. Attach 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile to your Pokemon in any way you like. That's just ridiculous. I mean, you accelerate 2 energy from your discard pile just by using a single energy attack. So if you go second, you can start powering things up, and then just being able to power up consistently throughout the entire match is awesome. I mean, that's such a powerful attack. And hits for 40, which, I mean, not bad, not great, but not bad. And then Solar Blade is its bigger hitter, 120 damage. So again, not spectacular, but not horrible either. Heal 30 damage from this Pokemon. So you hit for 120, which is a good amount of damage, and then you heal 30 from Lurantis. Pretty solid synergy. And then the GX attack, Chloroscythe GX, 50 damage times the amount of grass energy attached to this Pokemon. I mean, you already see the synergy between Chloroscythe and Flower Supply. You power up a Lurantis with Flower Supply, and then Chloroscythe just to delete a Pokemon. I mean, this is one of the delete a Pokemon GX attacks, which is so powerful. I mean, Chloroscythe GX really can just be like, okay, I don't like you on the board, you're gone. So Lurantis has a lot going for it. A big problem that I've encountered with it is it really just doesn't do enough damage in a lot of cases. I mean, that's why the pairing with Vileplume is so great, because it slows your opponent down to where it doesn't matter that you're not hitting for those magic numbers. Because, okay, if Flower Supply was 50 instead of 40, That would make a huge difference. If Solar Blade was 130 instead of 120, that'd make a huge difference. But the fact that both of them are just 10 short of magic numbers really does make a big difference, and that is the biggest shortcoming, in my opinion, of Lurantis, is just not being able to hit for those magic numbers with its general attacks and without any like damage boosting abilities. But anyway, on to the rest of the Pokemon that we are putting in this toolbox deck. I'm running one Lugia because of Arrow Ball. You can use every type of energy with it. I mean, it's just kind of a good, alright, let's just power up Lugia because there's no other better toolbox attackers in this deck to power up. Might as well just go ahead and power up Lugia. Yveltal-EX is in the exact same vein, except Evil Ball hits for a little bit more, but also has a more specific energy cost. That's why I'm running a couple dark energy in the deck. However, if we run up against a deck that either has resistance to dark, or both of my darkness energy are prized, that's where Lugia comes in. So these two really just kind of the exact same type of attacker, except Yveltal hits a little bit harder, and Lugia is used in events where Yveltal cannot be used. I'm using one Zygarde. I'm using Zygarde because of Tauros. Running up against a deck that's like, well, running up against the Tauros GX Decidueye GX deck can really just kind of put me SOL, just destroy me. But Zygarde, with a 3 energy Land's Wrath with a Fighting Fury Belt attached, you can one-shot a Tauros. Now, how realistic that is for being able to get that set up, and we're not going to bother with that. I'm just throwing Zygarde in that spot to be able to be like, okay, so we don't auto-lose to Tauros Decidueye. I mean, we still basically lose, but we don't auto-lose because we do have a way of one-shotting Tauros. That way they can't Mad Bull or Rage for tons of damage. Then I'm running 4-3 of the centerpiece of this deck, Fomantis and Lurantis. I'm going to call this Fomantis a lot. Just ignore me when I say Fomantis. It is Fomantis. However, Fomantis just kind of rolls off the tongue easier for me, and yeah, that's just a problem that I have with calling this card the right name, so sorry about that. One Mew, just be able to use any of these attacks. If we run up against a Psychic deck or a Psychic weak deck, we can use Mew to use Evil Ball or Arrow Ball or Cell Storm or whatever attack from our basic Pokemon. Now, Mew cannot copy Flower Supply, which is why you might want to run a Mew EX instead of just a Mew. However, I kind of like the fact that Mew is a single prize attacker, so that's why that's in there. Definitely look at Mew EX if you want to be able to copy all of your attacks and even all of your opponent's attacks as well. I just like a one prize attacker in this case. And then I'm also running a 1/1 of Dewpider and Araquanid, basically so we don't auto lose against Volcanion. That's really the only reason this card was in here, and that this was actually the first of the toolbox guys that I put in this deck because of Water Bubble. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's fire Pokemon. And then Aqua Edge, 3 for 70. Pretty mediocre, but against a fire deck, Araquanid forces your opponent to have a Hex Maniac or Lysandre around or something like that in order to be able to knock it out. So that's why I think that Araquanid got a spot in this deck, and also because I kind of wanted to show this guy off, because really I can't justify centering an entire deck around Araquanid. However, I think it fits nicely into this Lurantis toolbox deck because, I mean, Lurantis is weak to fire, Araquanid is completely immune to fire. So just cool synergy right there. On to the items. We're running 2 Escape Rope because all of our attackers are pretty hefty besides Lurantis, actually including Lurantis, because 2 energy, 3 energy, I mean, all of these guys, 2 retreat, 2 retreat, 2 retreat, 3 retreat, all those guys are not things you want to have in the active spot, and you want to be able to escape rope, well, you want to be able to switch them out and then go into a Lurantis. So that's why we have 2 escape rope there, and I like escape rope just because it also disrupts your opponent a little bit too. However, I can definitely see running 1/1. I just decided to go with 2 escape rope because, I mean, simplicity, and also I like escape rope. 2 Revitalizer to help get back a Fomantis and Lurantis, play those guys right back down, and then Flower Supply. 1 Super Rod to be able to put things back into our deck in case we overextend and we can't Flower Supply all the energy back that we need. 4 Trainers Mail to help with consistency. 4 Ultra Ball to get everything out. 4 VS Seeker to reuse all of our supporters. And as for the supporters, we are running a very, well, I guess I'd say a very weird line. I have my usual 4-2 of N and Sycamore, as well as 2 Lysandre, just because those are kind of the lines that the competitive decks are leaning towards nowadays. It's 4-2-2. You do see like a 4-3-4, or even like a 2-1, well, not a 4-3-4, a 2-3-3, and then you can see like 2, 1, and 4, or something like that. But either way, just generally, it is 4 Sycamore, 2 N, 2 Lysandre, just as the general core. 2 Hex Maniac. Again, I'm paranoid of Volcanion just absolutely destroying me, so Hex Maniac is another way of helping deal with Volcanion. Just shut off those steam ups. That way they have a lot more problems knocking out Lurantis and can't just one-shot it with a bunch of steam ups and then power heaters. So Hex Maniac is in there for that situation. And then what would a Toolbox deck be without a Ninja Boy? Like if you start with a... well, I mean, like you can even just power up a Shaymin on the bench. Put a bunch of energy on it, and you can just Ninja Boy into one of your attackers. So that way you don't have wasted attachments with Flower Supply onto a Shaymin or a Mew that you're not going to use. You can just Ninja Boy away and be able to get the attacker that you want. 2 Fighting Fury Belt to give our main attackers more longevity. And as for the energy line, running 2-2 of Water and Dark. Dark for, well, I guess it's Darkness, not Dark. Darkness energy is for Yveltal for obvious reasons. Water energy is for Araquanid. 6 grass energy because, I mean, we need grass energy to be able to Flower Supply. And then 3 fighting energy. You might be wondering why I'm running more fighting energy. Well, that's because I want to be able to Land's Wrath when I need to, as opposed to having, like, 1 of my fighting energy prized and then not be able to Land's Wrath. I'd rather just have 3 and then just go from there. And not gonna lie, I have had 0 trouble getting the energy that I need when I need it. I mean, one thing I can see happening is you having like, oh crap, well I have like a Darkness, a Fighting, and a Water in my hand, but I don't have a Grass energy. I have not run into that problem with this build. I've always been able to get the type of energy I need when I need it. However, if you guys find that you have trouble with that, I would definitely tinker with the line. This is just a line that I'm comfortable with and was something that I found to be effective. But anyway, I rambled for way too gosh darn long. Let's just go ahead and try to find a couple matches with this deck. Alrighty, we have found one against Pokemons, or Pocket Monsters, my bad. I was about to say Pokemon Stars, and I was about to say this isn't Space Jam or anything like that, but nope, it is Pocket Monsters with 0s and 3s in places of E's and O's. They will call the coin flip. I have no idea what type of deck we're up against. I mean, it looked like a bunch of different types, but then again, we're running a bunch of different types, so I obviously cannot judge it all. We do lose the coin flip, so that is kind of unfortunate, but not the worst thing in the world because this deck is able to attack turn 1. I mean, this deck really does not necessarily mind going second because you can immediately get a Lurantis up and power it up and all that. And I even get a Force of Giant Plants, a Sycamore. I'll get an energy in the discard pile. So I have a really solid opening hand. I really like what my opening hand has given me. So really, hopefully I can make the most of it. And wow, my opponent starts with a lone Combee. I mean, odds are he'll be able to get another Pokemon out, but either way, Combee is going to be in danger of getting knocked out in a single attack. Okay, so this is like the Combee Vespiquen deck. Really cool. But this Combee is in danger of getting knocked out by a single attack from my Lurantis. So my opponent, unless he plays Force of Giant Plants, which I know some of these versions do, I know not all of them do, but I know that Forest is generally a one of in these type of decks. So, I mean, if he does play it, then that's going to be a problem, but otherwise it looks like I will probably be able to knock out the Combee, although the fact that we see the Float Stone is probably an indication that this guy's going to retreat. And okay, my opponent's running Passimian too. So is this like a Passimian Mew Vespiquen Zebstrika deck? I feel like, I mean, that's a really, really, really cool idea because all those guys function on a DCE, but I feel like that's trying to do just a little bit too much. Now, a Passimian Zebstrika deck I can see, and I'll be honest, I'm kind of planning on making that. But a Passimian Vespiquen Zebstrika deck I feel is trying to do just a little too much. Don't get me wrong. Really, really cool idea. I love the idea. I just think it's trying to do too many things in one deck because, especially if you're going to try to run Passimian, you need a lot of cards that are really dedicated to getting multiple Passimian on the bench, getting them out, and all that stuff. So I feel like if you're trying to run Vespiquen along with it, well, Vespiquen and Zebstrika, one or the other I can see. Like, I can see running a Vespiquen line along with the Passimian, or I can see running a Zebstrika line along with the Passimian. But altogether, I just don't think that that's the best way to do it. My opponent does retreat into his Combi, or into his Shaymin, which is the good play. I mean, that's a very good play. I'm going to go ahead and Ultra Ball for a Shaymin to be able to draw more cards because, ooh, this is nice. Because what I can do is actually Escape Rope to bring that Combi back in to be able to knock it out if I manage to get a Lurantis and a Grass Energy, which, I mean, given how many I run in this deck, I should be able to pretty easily get that. I get the Grass Energy, and I'm going to get even more stuff in the discard pile. Do I want to grab anything there? I think I'll just grab the Hex Maniac to discard it. That way I have better chances of drawing into a Lurantis, which is what I want. And alright, there we go. Draw into a Lurantis, so I'm going to be able to knock out this Combi turn 1, and I can even start powering up something. I am just going to get rid of a VS Seeker and a Fighting Energy to... Yeah, I'm just going to grab the Lugia. I mean, even though we've seen this Zebstrika, I think Lugia is probably just... Lugia is never a bad mon to have a couple energy on. And then I'm going to be able to knock out the Combi with the Flower Supply, get a couple energy onto my Lugia, and... Well, actually, no, I'm going to put the energy onto my Lurantis because I want to be able to hit for 120 next turn to be able to knock out the Shaymin. So, yeah, that's going to be what I'm going for there. I'll be able to knock out the Shaymin, and my opponent really just forfeits because he couldn't do much. I even had a Lysandre available to me next turn if my opponent got down another Combi or Vespiquen or something like that, to where I could just Lysandre that thing in, knock it out, and go from there. So a very, very, very quick first game, but you saw exactly what this deck is supposed to do. You're supposed to see what you're up against, find one of the tech cards that you run, or the tech attackers that you run that has a matchup advantage, and go from there. So obviously I didn't have the matchup advantage, but Lurantis was good enough in itself, and yeah, way too short of a match. Let's go ahead and try to find another one. Alrighty, we have found another one against Ondantistron? I don't even know how to say it. But we do get to call the coin flip. Do we get to go first? We do not. I guess Tails did fail us. So Tails, I don't know what you're doing. But either way, we start off with, you know what? I mean, it could be worse. I have the ability to get a Fomantis up. I can attach energy to it. And what the heck is my opponent running? We see Tierno and Team Flare Grunt. I mean, that makes zero... Oh, lordy. Playing Crushing Hammer, which actually is okay in this deck, because, like, okay, you discard my energy, I'm just going to get back that energy and one more with Flower Supply next turn. So, yeah, just kind of screw you for running Crushing Hammer. But, either way, okay, we do get a Fomantis. That is pretty nice, because what we can do is go ahead and Ultra Ball into... what do I want to Ultra Ball into? Because I don't have the Forest of Giant Plants yet. My opponent is running Latios. I'm not sure exactly what type of deck my opponent is running. But either way, I am just going to Ultra Ball for something, attach the Grass Energy to the Fomantis, hopefully draw into my Escape Rope or Floatstone or something like that. Get Lugia out of there to be able to Flower Supply turn 1. My opponent is running Latios Deoxys, so... I'm very confused at this point. Oh, there's Forest Giant Plants. Perfect. Let's go ahead and Ultra Ball, get rid of both of the Grass Energy to grab a Fomantis to immediately play that onto my... Or Lurantis to play onto my Fomantis. Is it... Yeah, Fomantis, not Fomantis. I always say that wrong, so if I've said Fomantis the entire time, I completely apologize. And... Okay, I don't get anything, so what I'm going to do, attach the energy to the Lugia... or attach the Fighting Fury Belt onto Lugia, and yeah, let's just play the Mew. Why the heck not? Mew will have super effective damage against Deoxys, be able to one-shot it with X-Ball or Flowers. Well, I guess not Flower Supply, but X-Ball, if my opponent has an energy on him, Mew will be able to one-shot it. So I might as well. My opponent plays the Parallel City. That's completely okay with me, and Catcher's up. What's he going to catch her up? Catcher's up the Lurantis, so that is... actually playing perfectly into my hands. I really am not sure what's going on right now, but either way, I mean, I have the Force Giant Plants in my hand. I can go ahead and Ultra Ball, get rid of the Lysandre and a VS Seeker to grab probably just another Fomantis, because I might as well get a couple of these guys powered up and going, and then I can attach the Water Energy to the Lugia. Maybe? Yeah. Let's go to Lugia and then have a 0 discard Sycamore, sell 5 right now. I would sell 5, but then that would cause some popping in the mic, which would just be unpleasant for everybody. Get another Lurantis, play the Yveltal down, Shaymin for a couple more cards, because why the heck not? And yeah, this is the pretty much exact setup that I want. I do even Trainers Mail, grab another Sycamore. And yeah, let's just go ahead and Flower Supply, get some damage onto the Latios, and just start spreading energy. Gonna put 1 onto the... Now, do I want to power up Yveltal? I think Yveltal, yes. And then... do I want to just spread my energy around? I think that might be the best play. Let's go ahead and do that, yeah. Get an energy onto the Lurantis on the bench, and 1 onto the Yveltal because I have the Darkness Energy in hand. And my opponent is now starting to bring down the Crushing Hammer. Of course, gets rewarded, but... wait, why? Oh, and the Team Flare Grunt. I mean, that honestly makes no sense to me. I mean, I don't know. I don't get what my opponent is running. I really don't. It doesn't seem to have a lot of... doesn't seem to have a lot of synergy. I am just going to attach the Darkness to the Yveltal because... okay, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and draw into my Escape Rope, so I might as well bring the Deoxys out. Go into my Lurantis on the bench. Trainer's Mail, see what else I can get. Get an Ultra Ball. Might as well grab that just for a situation later, and then Flower Supply, get some damage off on this Deoxys, repower up my Lurantis on the bench, and even get, yeah, even go ahead and get another Darkness Energy onto my Yveltal, because if my opponent is going to be playing more Crushing Hammers, I want my Yveltal to be able to still attack regardless, and I mean, this makes... it really does make 0 sense. My opponent's deck makes no sense at all. It looks like they just threw some stuff together. And, okay, I want to apologize if this comes off as me, like, trashing my opponent and calling them good, and calling them, like, a noob and stuff like that. That's not what I'm doing. What I am saying is there's no synergy there. There really isn't any synergy at all in my opponent's deck at the current time. 'Cause, I mean... really, Deoxys and Latios don't make much sense together. If I'm being completely honest, I'm sure that there's probably some situation somewhere where they do, but right now I don't see any inherent synergy between like Deoxys, Latios, Team Flare Grunt, and stuff like that. Because Latios, you use Latios for a fast raid. That's what you use it for. You use it so you can attack turn 1 and potentially donk your opponent with the right combination of cards. So I completely understand if my opponent was running a deck that had like a bunch of plus powers, Kukui, all that different stuff. Well, like the deck that I ran up against when I was playing Solgaleo. I understand that deck. Like that deck, while I don't necessarily like facing it, it makes sense. And we even see the Mewtwo come down, so I really don't know what my opponent is running at this point. And just the fact that Crushing Hammer seemed to just kind of be thrown in really makes me wonder what the synergy is. I am just going to go ahead and knock out the Deoxys. I could have gone for another Flower Supply, but I decided to instead just go ahead and get the heals off. And if my opponent has a Double Dragon, he will be able to knock out my Lurantis, which is unfortunate. And we see another Crushing Hammer, so I'm really... I wish I could see my opponent's full deck list so I could get an understanding of what they're trying to go for, because it really doesn't make any sense to me. It just looks like cards that were thrown in together because they can attack with Psychic Energy, and then my opponent didn't know what else to run, so they threw in Crushing Hammer. So I'm not sure. Either way, we are still in a pretty solid position. If my opponent does get a Double Dragon, we will get knocked out, but I mean that's fine because my opponent just plays an energy onto the Mewtwo anyway. Will go ahead and fast raid me for 40 more damage, but you know what? We're actually still in a pretty solid spot because I can knock out this Latios with a Chloro Scythe. I might that might be my attack, or I could just Lysandre in. Yeah, I think I'm going to Lysandre in the Mewtwo, because the Mewtwo could potentially damage change, but it won't do a lot for him. In this way, my opponent cannot knock me out this coming turn, because he would have to have another energy and a muscle band, but except muscle band's rotated out. So I don't foresee a situation that my opponent can knock me out, except for like energy switch and an attachment or something like that. But either way, in a good spot. Oh well, wow. Okay, so Giovanni Scheme. All right, so I mean that makes sense. That I'm actually okay with that, because that really does make sense in my opponent's deck. Because I mean, you used Fast Raid, used Giovanni Scheme. You're able to hit for 60 first turn instead of 40. That allows you to knock out a lot of stage 1s that aren't EXs. That makes sense. I'm completely okay with that. But what I am just going to go ahead and do is Evil Ball, knock out my opponent's Mewtwo, and yeah, go from there. In a very, very commanding position right now. My opponent did take the lead temporarily, but I was able to grab that right back with my Yveltal, and I have enough energy on the board to pretty much be set for the rest of the game. Just kidding, my opponent plays another. Okay, who plays 2 Team Flare Grunt? I can understand one and then VS Seekering it a couple times, but who runs 2 Team Flare Grunt in their deck? That I don't know. I give up. I can't figure it out. But what I am just going to go ahead and do is retreat into my Lurantis, and I could Flower Supply. I'm very, very tempted to get Darkness Energy back onto my Yveltal. But I think because my opponent doesn't have anything else going, I think I'm just going to Chlorocythe GX. Take the knockout on the Latios, be 1 prize away. That way I can potentially Lysandre in. Whatever my opponent puts on the bench. So that's what I'm going to go for. My opponent, a 3rd Team Flare Grunt. What is going on here? I honestly have zero idea what is going on. Do see the Shatter Shot, that is fine. I am just going to attach onto the Yveltal, go for a Flower Supply, get 40 damage onto the Mewtwo, and then put 2 energy onto my Yveltal. That way, when my opponent knocks out this Lurantis, I can immediately go into my Yveltal that's on the bench. My opponent's used all their Crushing Hammer, so they'll have to, like... Yeah, okay, especially with the Tierno, we won't see... Yeah, they'd have to catch her, and then... Team Flare Grunt in order to keep me from taking the knockout. My opponent will be able to knock out my Lurantis this turn, and yeah, we'll be able to take the game because... Wait. Oh, the Fighting Fairy Belt actually makes this a little bit more complicated. I still should have enough energy in the deck to do this. But I'm going to double check because I can Sycamore, deck myself out, and grab that last energy if it's there. Yes, there is an energy right there. What I am going to just go ahead and do... So that's 150. I need... Okay, so I have 150 on the board. I need 170. Let's... Hold on. I don't... Okay, so I'm just going to go all in. Hope my math is completely correct. Grab that last Fighting Energy. Play it onto the Yveltal. Then Evil Ball. Knock out my opponent's Mewtwo. And take the game. And, yeah, take our last prize. So my opponent's deck was... very, very unusual. I have no idea what they were trying to run. But either way, it did give me a little bit of trouble. It really did give me a little bit of trouble. And that's the biggest problem Lurantis has, is it just doesn't do enough damage overall. Like, it can hit for some solid amounts, but it just misses off on magic numbers in certain situations. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. Leave your answer to the question of the day in the comment section below. And this is Styx, signing out. Why not? See you guys.